You're listening to the Casting for Fun podcast, the show that talks about entertainment, sports, music, and inspirational stories for all to enjoy. We're glad you could join us today. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now, here is your host, Albert Pineda.
Welcome, everybody, to the Casting for Fun podcast. I am your host, Albert Pineda, and this is a special late Thursday evening episode of the podcast being released on Thursday, April the 13th, 2023. A little bit of a break from my norm of releasing new episodes on Tuesday evening. But yes, so this episode's going to be released late Thursday evening. I would imagine most people listening may be probably catching it on Friday or even I don't know, whenever after because it's so late. But I'm very happy and excited to announce that my very good friend and mentor, Jeff Haskins, is returning to the podcast to talk Dodger talk, to talk everything related to the Dodgers, how the team is doing now, to talk about how the rule changes with the pitch clock is affecting the game of baseball, whether it's good or bad. It's up for you to decide. But I mean, for the most part, Jeff and I are kind of in agreement that the surge in offense that we're seeing in the league because of pitchers being forced to have to move quicker as far as the pitch clock is concerned is leading to more offense from the league and faster games, which is kind of exciting and cool. But again, it's up to you to decide how you feel about that. We also talk about Jeff's courtship story with his wonderful wife, Audrey, which is always exciting and fun to hear. And for me, it's just always great to catch up with old friends. And even though it hasn't been that long since last time Jeff was on the show, it is exciting for me just to chat with him again. And yeah, I'm really, really excited that he's back. The previous episode I recorded with Jeff back in November of last year is actually my most streamed and downloaded episode of the entire series. So it just seems that the audience loves Jeff. How this episode does, I hope it does great. But at the same time, I'm doing this podcast just for fun. It doesn't really matter if I'm getting tons and tons of streams or just a few. The people who are listening, if you're enjoying it and having fun listening to my podcast, and it's a success, it's great. For those who wish to know, though, the Jeff Haskins episode previously has 108 streams and downloads, so which is the highest of any episode I've done. It even surpassed my debut episode with Allison, which actually stands right now at 106. So they're both really close to each other. But regardless, though, it's always a pleasure to have Jeff on the show. And here we go. This is my conversation with Jeff Haskins. Returning to the Casting for Fun podcast is a very awesome, wonderful guest, my good friend and mentor, Jeff Haskins. Jeff, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well tonight. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yes, as we talked before the recording, obviously I got to explain to everybody my health scare that I had with sepsis, but I'm doing much, much better now and healthy, and family's doing great too. So I'm excited for that.
Good. I'm glad. I love watching kids film, especially softball with the daughters. It really brings back memories of me and my daughters and my son playing baseball, being able to coach them and being involved. That's so cool.
Awesome. Very good. Well, speaking of softball and baseball, I mean, it's really cool that we get to talk Dodger talk right now. We're in springtime. It's the start of the MLB season. And what I wanted to do was actually take the time to talk about our favorite memories from the Dodgers for the many, many years that we've been fans and enjoyed the game. And then also there's some interesting things to talk about as far as the current rules now for Major League Baseball with the pitching count, because we've seen just a number of really high scoring games all throughout the league. So I kind of wanted to get your take on that as well, Jeff.
I kind of enjoy it. I enjoy the quick pace. And I enjoy, well, let me put it this way. One of the things that I have never enjoyed is the showboating that who's that? I think Johnny Cueto is a pitcher that loves to take his time. So is this Rodney Fernandez. I think his name is Rodney. We probably got him mixed up. But anyhow, these guys like to get up on the mound and sit there and try several different windups and really, they really try to play that game where a batter's got to wait on them. And the whole doggone game has to wait on them. And I think it's interesting that certain pitchers are having a difficult time with it. And some pitchers, like Kershaw, for instance, he said it's kind of nice I mean, it makes for a quick game, and no reason to stretch things out, especially in blowouts. I do believe you're right. The high scoring games, it's it's kind of like I don't know if you remember, we played in the coach ball one time. We were playing soccer, and Josh Dupre said, "What we'll do is we make these enormous goals so that we have a high scoring game."
Mhm.
Isn't that more interesting? I think it's
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
yeah, and I love the idea of like last night, Max Muncy hitting 2 home runs, um, and he had that guy on the ropes, so to speak, because you don't have time to think, you don't have time to set anything up necessarily, or I should say, you have to speed things up quite a bit. So you serve up. Kershaw served up a nice slider too that was just right in the right spot. I can't remember which giant get a home run off of him, or a triple. I think it was a triple. But it's yeah, it's cool. I like the high scoring. I like the intensity. I don't remember pitchers ever taking as long as they have been in recent years. When I was a kid, of course, I just don't remember that. Um, but it just seems by watching it on television now, I was picking up a lot on that. I think that's interesting. What do you think?
It's interesting that Major League Baseball wanted to make the change and do it that way because again, we're seeing the higher scoring games, we're seeing faster games. Where I think I remember reading or hearing somewhere that the average time now is maybe like 2 hours and 40 minutes. So they're keeping it under 3 hour games now, which is I guess good for the mainstream sports audience. For me personally, I mean, I want to get into this conversation with you, but during the 90s, I went to several games with the Turners, with Nick and Tad, and with my older brother Fernando. And during that era, like the late mid 90s to late 90s, the Dodgers weren't very good. They weren't really that competitive of a team. But for me, the stadium experience was always really fun and great, and I always enjoyed it. But I can't imagine, or I can't help but think that now the way it is, maybe Major League Baseball wanted this change in order to draw in a bigger audience and maintain like a I guess more of a family atmosphere at the stadium where the games aren't getting dragged out for too long, and we are seeing a lot of like home runs and dingers and high scoring games.
Yeah, I think that you know I kind of lost touch with baseball sometime in the '90s, about the time you started becoming interested in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember the last game I took you boys to the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes.
I remember that. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a Dodgers affiliate in Double A,
Mm-hmm.
and we I think that was the last time I had been to a ball game in a long time. Until Audrey and I actually moved up here to the high desert and we started attending the Mavericks, the High Desert Mavericks, which was a minor league team. They played the Quakes quite often, and we started getting more interested in it. And as our kids started leaving the nest here, we found that we had more time to turn on the tube and watch a game. Um, and once a year, we try to make a pilgrimage back to Chavez Ravine and Ravine, I should say, and see a game. It's I left it for a long time, and I'm kind of glad I did because from what I understand, they really stunk up the joint for a good 15, 20 years almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Audrey and I rejoined the Dodgers as far as fandom. Um, I think it was like 2016. It was only about 7 or 8 years ago. I think when we actually started paying attention to him again. It was about the time Cody Bellinger was coming up in the minor leagues.
Okay. Yeah.
That puts anything in perspective because he would make an appearance here and there at first base, but only toward the end of the season. And we got to know this kid named Bellinger, um, and that kind of really reinvigorated our interest in baseball, and of course, naturally, the Dodgers. There's no reason to really be a fan of any other team. If you like baseball, you've got the Dodgers. If you don't like the baseball, you got the Angels. You can, it's like the Clippers and the Lakers. If you like basketball, you got the Lakers. If you don't like basketball, you got the Clippers. Perfect.
Yeah.
Something for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. Have you had a chance to come out to Dodger Stadium since they've done the renovations and since the pandemic's kind of been over?
Audrey and I went there during a fan day before the season started and just looked around the parking lot, but we never know. It makes a quick answer. No, we haven't. I don't think we've been to a ball game since before the pandemic. Since I think it was 2020. Is no 2019. It was a year before they won the World Series. Was the last time we've been to the stadium.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So since the pandemic, they've done a lot of renovations to make it more family friendly, which is cool. Like there's play areas for the kids, like I don't know what you call that substance. It's like the rubbery like track you can run on. Like a lot of high schools have that substance. Yeah, they have like that built into the floor so kids can play on it. There's TV monitors everywhere. So if you're out and about like buying food or wherever you are, you can catch the game. So it's a really like inviting atmosphere, which again to me it seems like MLB is doing that for not just the Dodgers, for all the teams throughout the league. And I guess as we just discussed, at changing the pitching rule or having the pitching count between batters is I guess kind of a way of like drawing in fan interest. And it's interesting to think that if MLB really needed to do that, or I mean, again, there could be plus and minuses or arguments against either way, but for the most part, I think it is making the game very entertaining.
I think anything they could do to increase the family atmosphere has got to be good. One of the things that we've had to do lately is we always have to buy the more expensive tickets because we don't want to have someone spill beer down our backs
Yeah.
while sitting out in the right field bleachers, which was something that I used to dearly love back in the day, but not so much with my wife and sometimes children there. Yeah, so that playground that's out in the center field, right? Just beyond yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. And one of the things I remember, I could tell you, I could talk all night about memories of when I was a child at Dodger Stadium. But my grandmother used to take me early to watch batting practice, and then she'd stay late with me. And I bring this up because she really was a fan herself. We knew where the Dodgers parked their cars at the stadium, and she would wait around with me afterwards, after the game, so that the Dodgers, the players would be showered and ready to go, and we'd stand there in their parking lot and wait for them to come out so we could sign my glove or sign my ball or something like that. They were always so congenial. They were always so friendly. And to her credit, so I'm thinking of the center field pavilion that you're talking about, that area. That wasn't too far from where they actually used to park their cars. They used to park their cars somewhere between home plate and the bullpen on that side of the stadium. And we used to hang out there and stop them till they came out and signed whatever we put in front of them and said hello. And that was pretty neat back then. I don't think you can do that anymore.
Oh, not so much. Yeah, it's actually a really awesome experience that you got to do that. Do you remember some of the players that you got to meet really briefly during being able to camp out?
Yeah. Well, my grandma, I'm gonna just take a moment and tell you my grandma, her sister, back just after I think it was World War II. No, I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up. Her sister married a banker, a guy that wasn't just worked in the bank, like his family owned a bank. So they had money, and we were the poor cousins. So we always got to hang out and benefit from her generosity. She bought season tickets for her and my grandma and me and one of her grandchildren. So the four of us would have season tickets to see the Dodgers, and we'd go. Part of that included being able to participate in the luncheon that the Dodgers. Back then, the Dodgers used to have spring training in Vero Beach, Florida, and so they would fly into LA just before opening day, and they would have a luncheon at the Ambassador Hotel in downtown LA. And Vince Scully was always the master of ceremonies for this. And we would go there, and of course there was food. I don't remember much about the food. What I remember is sitting at the table with Ron Say and Steve Garvey and Bill Russell and Davy Lopes and all these heroes of mine, and listen to them talk about spring training and what they're doing to prepare for the season and their plans. And that was an incredible experience. So you're talking about when I was a kid, my heroes were that was the infield. That was Steve Garvey, Davey Lopes, Bill Russell, Ron Say, and then you got Steve Yeager behind the plate, and you've got the outfielders Joe Ferguson, and it was really something to be able to kind of touch and feel and know those guys. And then I would meet them after the games, and they acted. I know that they didn't recognize me. I know I wasn't their buddy, but they always treated this 8-year-old kid like he was part of the team, and I thought that was awesome. That was phenomenal, and so that's that. Those are my guys. Those are my players. I think I stopped being interested when Steve Sachs came along. I never really did like that guy.
Oh, well, it's definitely really amazing, great players to have as heroes, which is really great, and that you had to grow up during that era of the Dodger history, which is really fantastic as well. In the current Dodger team today, are there players that you really enjoy or like watching, or maybe from the past couple years that you've really enjoyed?
Yeah, I really hoped that Bellinger was going to work out, and I've got a personal philosophy. I think when he won the National League MVP, we watched it. Audrey and I sat and watched the whole ceremony where he was at home with his family, waiting to hear whether he was going to win or not. And he was there with his high school girlfriend, basically. Next thing you know, he's hooked up with this cleat chaser named Chase, who was previously in a relationship with, other ball players. Aaron Judge, for instance, from the Yankees. And you just don't want anyone who would have anything to do with the Yankees. It's just that juju.
Yeah.
And that poor dude never really came back to form after that. I know that it has nothing to do with his performance, but to me that was kind of his downfall. So to answer your question, yeah, we get a little carried away with certain players, him and Kershaw, and the current lineup. Freddie Freeman is just like the most stable, absolute one of the best players I've ever experienced as far as consistency and talent. You've got Max Muncy, who has been a reclamation project. He was basically let go from the A's, and the Dodgers picked him up. I don't remember if they signed him to a minor league contract or not, but I mean, he's along with Justin Turner, same thing. Justin Turner was released from the Mets as someone who just wasn't worth having on a team anymore. But these guys all find a home at Dodger Stadium, and they excel. I mean, Max Muncy, son of a gun, what a week he had with the Giants.
Oh yeah.
That's just so exciting, so thrilling. We love Kike Hernandez. We love Chris Taylor. Now the kid that I'm looking at right now is James Outman, Trace Thompson, and these guys, and Will Smith, for heaven's sake. The guy's so talented. If he stays true to what appears to be his character, I think he's going to have one amazing career. These guys are really making it good to watch. I'll tell you one thing I don't like. I don't like our second baseman. I don't like our shortstop right now. I don't know. If I could have 20 minutes with the management, maybe we could try to get Trey Turner back or something.
Oh yeah.
I think we may have messed up there with Gavin Lux going down.
Yeah.
In the preseason. Yeah, I'd love to see him come back and kind of solidify that second base position. Second base and shortstop are so crucial in baseball. I would just like to see a little more seasoned veteran, a proven veteran there at either one of those positions, both of them. But they don't return my phone calls.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, actually, my dad would probably like to have a few words with Dave Roberts too, for other reasons as well. But
you know what? I do like Dave Roberts too, and I like Dino Ebo, the third base coach. I mean, what a great baseball guy. I think both of those guys are really nice, and I'd love to return to that situation where I could go to one of those luncheons and sit around and talk. I was probably so starstruck. I never really had anything good to say or ask back in the day. But how about you? How do you see this Dodger team this year?
Like you mentioned, all the players you've mentioned, and even players from the past who were with the team just fairly recently, have been great and fantastic. The Dodger bullpen could probably use some work as well. I mean, again, we've seen, like you mentioned, basically all the bullpens for MLB teams have been struggling with the pitch count change rule now. In fact, I think I remember reading that only maybe 4 or 5 teams total have a combined ERA for their bullpen for less than 3.0. Wow. So it just seems like everybody's giving up lots of runs. So that's definitely something that the Dodgers will have to work on as the season progresses. But I think it's going to be a really exciting National League West division this year between the Dodgers, the Padres, and surprisingly the Diamondbacks.
I know. Yeah, boy, they really had their way with us.
Yeah. All due respect to the Giants and the Rockies, I mean, who knows? But I don't really see them being the favorites. It'd really be between the Dodgers, Padres, and Diamondbacks, I think, when it comes down to the fall.
Yeah. You know, the best thing about the Giants, the best thing the Giants ever had going for them was their coach, Bruce Bochy. Just because he's so wily. I mean, he was so intellectually strategic in his coaching. That is one amazing coach. Okay, to take a team like the Giants and get them to the World Series and do it. Did they do it like 3 times in the last 15 years?
Yeah, I think it was 3 championships. Even I prefer not to think about that, but
and they came in as wild cards into the playoffs because he didn't care. He didn't care about winning 162. He didn't care about winning 110 games. He didn't care. He just cared about getting into the playoffs any way they could and be well rested and have the mindset of. And I mean, what do you think was the downfall of the Dodgers last year when they went into the playoffs and got spanked?
To be honest, I couldn't tell you for sure. I mean, I was just as dumbstruck as everybody, that thinking, how are they losing to the Padres? But
it's a strategic move that I think that it was a very exciting season. They scored a record number. They won a record number of games, right? 111 or something.
Yeah,
it was an amazing season. But they pretty much gave up hope of having a decent playoff run because they ran out of gas. Their bats went dead, and they ran out of gas. It's simple. 162 games in a regular season can really have an effect on you. You need to be well rested. You need to give yourself that kind of time to heal, and perhaps by pulling up on the rubber a little bit, they could have had a better showing in the postseason last year.
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't you agree? You do your best work when you're well rested, or at least conditioned to be rested at all. These guys went into there limping and bruised up and beaten, and yeah, it was an exciting 162 games. Absolutely. But They basically gave that up for they gave up the postseason for that, I think. But like like I said before, they don't answer my calls.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree with your sentiment, but I think this season's going to be better, or at least I hope so. So we'll see how the the Dodgers do this year. But again, I think it's just going to be an exciting year of baseball, and looking forward to how the team performs this year.
Let me ask you this:
Yeah.
Have you seen Dustin May pitch this year?
No, I haven't.
That dude, you know who he reminds me of is Randy Johnson.
Oh, okay.
I hope I got his name right. That 6'10" dude from the Diamondbacks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this guy, Dustin May, when he releases the ball, it's like he's only 6 feet from home plate, and he's got some kind of magic coming from his fingers. That ball just dances, and it's really moving fast. So I think that's going to be a very exciting young man to watch um, this year.
Oh, very cool. Definitely keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, he's one to watch. I remember when I'm sorry if I'm dominating the whole conversation, but
No, this is perfect.
I remember when Fernando Valenzuela came into the picture.
Mhm.
I think I was I would work during the summer at my grandfather's cabinet shop, which was on North Spring Street, right below Dodger Stadium. And when quitting time came around, about 3 or 4 o'clock, my friends would meet me in the right field pavilions, and we'd watch Fernando pitch. Anytime he pitched at home, we were there. I think that was a year between my junior and senior year of high school, or at least where I should have been going to high school. um, and then of course when I graduated, that was 1981, and that was a year of all possibilities there. That was incredible. But watching a pitcher that has such command of the game is truly special. So you find these guys like Dustin May. Um, I used to think who's the guy that just tore himself up last year? Walker Buehler.
Yeah.
Walker Buehler. He had some magic stuff. Tony Gonsolin has some magic pitching. Uh, those guys are. It's going to be an exciting year. I hope these other guys come up and get healthy, and participate, because it's truly a joy to watch.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, I mean, it's kind of the way I've always felt. Like, as I mentioned, back in the 90s, we were going to games when the Dodgers weren't performing well. And now going to games as often as I can now, with the Dodgers usually being in contention for the division title. So, yeah, like you said, it's going to be a really exciting season, very interesting season of baseball ahead of us.
Yeah, I think so. And you got to wonder what management was thinking, giving away Trey Turner, letting him go, letting him away, but letting him go. That's just one of those things, man. I'd love to have him back. It would just be a little reassuring. That's all. Because Max Muncy at third base, I guess he's having a bit of difficulty finding his bearings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what his error count is already this season. I think he's got 2 or 3 errors, and that's not a spot where you can make those kinds of mistakes. That's an important spot. I think he was an excellent first baseman. I even think he was a good second baseman. But that hot corner at third base, you really need someone there that that likes the position, I guess, for lack of a better word, or belongs at that position. I'd like to say Chris Taylor would do it, but I don't think he's a baseman.
Oh, yeah. I definitely agree with your sentiments about Trey Turner. In fact, I mean, for the longest time, we've had a Turner on the team. And I always associate the Dodgers with the last name of Turner, obviously because of the Turner family loving the Dodgers as much as they do. But so we are kind of spoiled. I kind of wish maybe we can get another Turner somewhere in the league who's actually worth having, if we can't have Justin or Trey.
That's cool. That's fun. I like that.
But yeah. If there's nothing else with the Dodgers, I wanted to get into your courtship story with Audrey because we kind of ran out of time last time we were together talking on the podcast, and I think that'd be a really interesting, great conversation topic to go over. Since you and Audrey are, very near and dear to the Pineda family, great friends with my parents, and great friends and mentor to me as well. So I wanted to get your take on your memories and stories about how you met Audrey and how you came to know that she would be your wife and companion for all these years.
Okay, so full disclosure, right?
Yeah.
I'm 60 years old. I don't remember everything as clearly as I should. I have a very romantic notion of how this all went down. So this is how I remember it.
Okay.
I was a returned missionary. I served in Argentina, came home, and ever since I was a young man, I actually had a pretty clear vision of the girl of my dreams. And I hadn't found her. I'd seen her here and there, but I had never really found her. And I'm being very literal when I say I had a vision. I knew that that this girl was Mexican, and I knew that she just had a certain look and way about her, confidence, and that was always in the back of my mind, Albert. It's something, And I dated girls. I went out with girls. I had girlfriends. But when I came home from my mission, I dated a girl who was an amazing young woman, daughter of a fantastic family, very, very stalwart. She was starting her senior year at Brigham Young, and I wanted to attend BYU. So we became engaged, and this was in the starting of spring semester. No, starting winter semester, I can't remember. We decided that I would return back to Los Angeles and work for that semester, and then we would marry in August and start school in September as starting students for about 6 months until she graduated, and then she would go to work and support me while I flail my way through Brigham Young University, graduate, and that was the plan. Which worked out pretty well until I actually returned home to Los Angeles and was left to my own devices. I think about 2 months into this, I told you that I worked in the cabinet shop with my grandfather. I was approached by one of his clients who needed a manager. It was actually at a furniture showroom in Beverly Hills called Schwarman Showrooms on Beverly Drive in Beverly, Robertson Avenue, I think, in Beverly Hills. I took the job because it was really good money, and I thought I could just earn and save some more, and then keep to the plan. When my fiance was to return for summer break, we would just make our plans and have our wedding, and that was the plan. In the middle of all this, my dear friend, Jeff Fouts, invited me to a birthday party. It was to be held at Stuart Anderson's Black Angus restaurant. It was on May 25th. And I didn't know anybody that was going to be at this birthday party, but Jeff Fouts said that it was going to be all girls and that they just wanted to have some guys there. So I didn't see any harm in that. And that's where I met Audrey. And I ain't kidding. Like I said, this romantic notion I got of arriving at Stuart Anderson, she was already there. It was her best friend's birthday that we were celebrating. And I saw her sitting at the table, and I immediately recognized her as the person who I had in the back of my mind since I was a young man, like a deacon teacher type young man, It's just one of those scenarios where you go to state dances, you go to young adult activities, and you're looking for someone, not sure exactly who it is, but you have this image of who she'll be. And that was Audrey. And she and I started talking, and I think we talked the entire time, just chatting. It was all very, very simple. I knew I was engaged, and I didn't know her that well, but we made plans. We had not seen a particular movie called Against All Odds. It was in the theaters in 1982. Jeff Bridges and Rachel Ward and Phil Collins did the theme song for it, called Against All Odds. And I thought it was a good movie. So I invited her to go see the movie. Well, the movie wasn't in theaters anymore, but one of the Raiders of the Lost Ark movie was, and she and I went to the Chinese Promenade Theater in Hollywood, and then saw the movie, and then went down to Balboa to my dearest, my fondest BJ's, one of the originals right there on Main Street in Balboa Island, and we ate there. We had dinner there, took her home, but we made plans for the next day to go back to the beach. And I'm not exaggerating this. I am sure of. We spent every single day. We saw each other every single day, probably until long after our children were born. And I realized that this girl was really special. Her spirit, her confidence, her faith. I'm telling you, it was just amazing. And I'm not leaving out the part about still being engaged. I'm just telling you how I came to realize. Audrey was born about 4 months after I was. She grew up literally less than a mile as the crow flies from where I grew up. She and I could have met so many times, but we didn't until that moment. And I just think, so here's the thing. She was a member of another faith, a very faithful Christian family, Catholic family, wonderful people. In fact, the night I met her, I was speaking Spanish. I was showing off. And she said, listen, you're coming to my house tomorrow. I want you to speak Spanish. My mother will love it. I said, okay, cool. So I came to the door to pick her up. And in Argentina, you don't knock on doors because lots of people don't even have doors in Argentina. You stand in front of their house and you clap. And then they'll come out and greet you and welcome you into their home, or they'll tell you to get lost. So you know what I'm talking about. You were
Brazil's the same way, yeah.
Yeah. So I get up on her front porch, and what do? I start clapping. And her sister comes to the door, and she says, you may want to hold your applause after the date. I said, okay. So I come in, and I'm speaking Spanish. And her mother comes around the corner from the kitchen into the front room with this enormous smile on her face. And as she sees me, that smile just disappeared. And she realized there's only one good reason for a big old white boy to be speaking Spanish, and that is he must have been a Mormon missionary. And that was the beginning of a real interesting part of my relationship with my in-laws. Okay, my future in-laws. But we saw each other quite a bit, and eventually I picked my fiance up from the airport, and make a long story short, this is a superb young woman at the time, and a very stalwart and strong member of this day. And funny enough, if you want to call it funny, the day that my oldest daughter graduated from BYU, her oldest daughter was graduating as well. And she was there at BYU at the Marriott Center at the same time I was there.
Oh no.
It's not like we were sitting next to each other.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I just know because my mother is still very good friends with her parents, um, and uh, and so she happened to know that they were going to be in BYU celebrating the graduation of their oldest granddaughter. The same way my mom was there to see hers. Anyhow, um, small world, I suppose.
Mhm.
But I can't say enough positive and good things uh, about my former fiance. She was a wonderful gal, and it just wasn't it just wasn't meant to be. Um, a couple of weeks, maybe a month after I met Audrey, for the first time ever, a pair of sister missionaries come tracking on her block. And Audrey happened to be there. From what I think Audrey was all alone in her house. Otherwise, I don't think her family would have let them in. But Audrey saw them and said, "Hey, this guy that I'm dating is a member of your church. I'd love to know more." And, this is still during that time when I'm kind of vacillating back and forth, thinking I'm actually engaged. I'm supposed to be starting school. And I know darn well that I'm in love with this woman, with Audrey. And I knew that that was going to be it. But I was in the middle of all this, and she wasn't going to wait. She took the lesson, and she was baptized at the Garvalia building. Oh, no, no, no. She was baptized at the Alhambra Ward building. Um, I think maybe Garvalia doesn't have a font, or maybe it wasn't working. I don't know. But yeah, it was just one of those things, Albert, that golly, it's just a whirlwind. I could not, you know what they say about prayer and about directing your life through the guidance of the Holy Ghost. Um, you'll know when it's right. And you'll also know when it's not right, because you won't be able to concentrate on it. You won't be able to fix on it. You'll have a stupor of thought. My thoughts about Audrey were so clear that it was just perfectly natural. And like I said, she was baptized in September, and we started attending. I believe we attended Temple City Ward because our first house was in Temple City. Then we moved to Monrovia, and then we moved back to Temple City. Anyhow, we were married by Tom Payne.
Oh, interesting. Very cool.
He was the bishop of Temple City Ward.
Mhm.
He married us in the Las Flores Ward building because he said, "You guys need to get married." You're supposed to wait a year after you're baptized till you can go into the temple back then. And he said, "Well, you guys are in love. There's no reason for you to wait. Let's get you married." And then in September, for her 1 year anniversary, we went to the temple, to the LA temple, and we were sealed. And the rest, I think you probably already know.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know what, Jeff? From listening to your story, it seems like you have a very astute memory. I think you can remember all the details, which is really, really cool.
You would think so, but I may have taken license here and there, but I'm not exaggerating about the fact that Audrey and I saw each other every single day. We spent a lot of time at the beach just because we liked hanging out at the beach, and we were friends. We just enjoyed each other's company so much. I think, um, it, I, Mark Scott told the story one time in sacrament meeting. He had a very good friend named, I can't think of his name, kind of a goofy dude, but his name was Mike something or other. He actually joined the church. He wasn't a member, but he told a story about missionary work, about how two spirits were in the pre-existence, and they're friends, they're dear friends, and they both get their mission calls to come to earth. And one of them is very, very excited because he's going to be born, he's going to have the gospel in his life, and things are going to go well. And he goes over to share the news with his friend, who says, "Well, I'm not going to be born into a family where I will have the gospel in our lives. We'll be faithful, we'll be Christian, but we won't be members of the church. And at that time, they vowed to find each other. And since Audrey and I are so closely matched in time, I've always kind of felt like that was kind of true. That you can't deny it. I mean, our kids, our lives together, our church service, everything about our existence together has to have been preordained. It just has to be. It's like you and your wife. I don't know how many opportunities you had to date and marry before you met Allison, but when I saw you two together for the first time, I knew. I said, "Oh man, that is exactly who he's supposed to be." That you guys just complement each other so perfectly. I don't know if you feel the same way, but like I said, I'm a romantic slob when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. I really appreciate that. And I definitely agree. And that's a wonderful, amazing story. It was nice to get some of the details because I know, I think you shared some of it, like the clapping story. I remember hearing that when I was a youth, when you were our youth leader. But it's obviously very evident that Audrey's have an amazing and impactful impact on your life. But it was kind of interesting and nice to hear that you had a positive influence on her as well, as far as introducing her to the church and being an example to her that would make her want to learn more and eventually become baptized into the church. So that's actually really inspiring to hear that as well.
Yeah, that's the best missionary work of all, just being a good example. Mm-hmm. And being able to open your mouth and bear your testimony whenever it's appropriate and not hesitating. That's true because, I mean, Audrey has been so impactful in so many lives outside in the church. You know, she's been a primary president, a Relief Society president, Young Women's president, and counselors to all the above. And it's I'm truly grateful. And the photo that I sent you earlier really kind of encapsulates that because it was totally candid. We didn't set it up. It was a surprise to us. This guy, I think I don't know if you mind I explain it. He was scouting locations. He wasn't even a member of our church. He was just scouting beautiful locations to take wedding pictures, and wanted to know at the end of it all. He wanted to know if we had a key to the gate. So no, we don't. But back then, when the temples were closed, first of all, we love Newport, as you know. You know, I used to take it's one of my favorite places on planet Earth, and it was just nice to stroll around, even just the outside of those grounds. It's so tranquil, and really captured a moment there. But it really shows how faithful and true Audrey is. The most honest and beautiful person I've ever known.
Oh, absolutely. I can attest that Audrey is a very wonderful, amazing lady, and that the two of you have been able to create a wonderful family together, which is really great. And as I mentioned in the previous recording as well, in recent years, I've gotten to become really good friends with Kimmy and her husband Nathan and Brianna through Facebook as well. So you've lived a wonderful, great life, and you definitely had many years ahead of you. So I don't want to mean like I'm cutting you short. But
I always kind of hoped that I died before I got old. Old nonsense is for the birds.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm very grateful for everything. I think sometimes we take for granted the time that we have with each other. The time I had with you and Nick and Derek and David and all the guys, and Dawn. You know, Dawn. I mean, just to be able to be in the same organization as that dude, honestly, I think I think back. And I look at my life now and my calling and the people I'm working with, and I think, geez, you know what, you guys, I hope this isn't the best time of my life, only because it's really not that much fun anymore. But Yeah, you guys meant a lot to me. Just take advantage of all the time you get with your kids. Albert, helping Avery play ball. For heaven's sakes. I even coached soccer. I don't like soccer.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that, right? I mean, it's nothing. I got nothing against it necessarily. But just being able to participate with my kids, it's amazing. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you to have that opportunity with your kids.
Oh, I am too. It's been a wonderful, amazing experience for me to be a dad and get to see Avery grow up. And she loves playing softball. She loves to be out there active with her friends, which is really fun and great to see. And then our little adopted son, Liam, it's wonderful to see him grow and develop. And he's 2 now. So it's just been a wonderful experience to get to see him grow up in the 2 years that he's been in our home. And we mentioned this before the recording that we have profound impacts on other people that we don't always necessarily realize. So it's great to kind of hear examples of, how you've been able to influence Audrey, how Audrey's been able to influence you, and just to hear of, the experiences that we've had together when we were in the Young Men's Organization, and that we'll continue to have experiences where we can influence and inspire others to the best of our ability.
Yeah, that's so cool. We had to have like a round table. Get as many of us together as we can on one of your podcasts.
I absolutely want to do that. Yeah, I want to, for the next one, I want to touch base with obviously with the Turner boys, with both Nick and Tad, and then Derek. I've tried to get David on before. He kind of declined. Didn't seem like he was that interested. But I think if I tell him you're going to come on and some of the other guys too, I think maybe we can persuade David to join us.
Yeah. How can you have an activity without David? Holy moly.
Yeah, but that'll be really fun. Yeah, I'm going to try and organize that maybe for later in the summer, and we'll definitely put something like that together.
Oh, that'd be cool. I'm in. Just let me know.
Okay. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for giving me your time tonight. Again, this is purely just as a hobby for fun for me to do. But I think, it's important to record these things so that it gets documented. So in the event that you actually do forget some of the stuff that, that led to your courtship with Audrey, you'll have it documented somewhere. So you'll be able to go back and listen to it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. It's good to get the whole story out in one shot. I told you guys bits and pieces of it, but yeah, that's pretty much it. That's neat. I appreciate you very much, Albert. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome, Jeff. Appreciate you and your friendship, and you and Audrey are wonderful, great people. So thank you so much.
You got it, man.
Okay.
Continue self-feeding.
Okay. Absolutely. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Okay. So you've been listening to the Casting for Fun podcast. Thanks, everybody.